If you want to be clear in your decision making and you want a long career that is not going to be muddied and mucked up with unethical nonsense, you need to really consider focusing on spiritual, holistic health. Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer, where armor is forged through mental, spiritual, and physical preparation. Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer. It is a pleasure to be with you again for another Monday, another week, another day. I just love Mondays. I know a lot of you hate Mondays, and it's very popular to hate Mondays, but I love them because it is another opportunity to set your mini micro goals and go out and just kill them. See, micro goals, those are things that you want to set for this week or even for a day. What are your micro goals? Because see, long-term success is simply you accomplishing small micro goals and obtaining small steps of success every day, every week, month after month, for years. And those small goals turn into massive, massive successes. So I'm so excited for another week. Get your goals, write them down on a piece of paper, hang them on your mirror, write them in your heart, write them in your minds, and whatever you do, go out and get it. Go out and get it this week. Well, I am really excited to bring you this episode. This is a very, very important episode. In fact, the importance of this episode really hit home right as I sat down to start recording this episode for you. I got a text from a very dear friend of mine who is a first responder. He is a firefighter. He's a medical responder. And he texted me and said that he had just responded to a terrible traffic accident where a young mother is barely hanging on to life, and her baby had to be medically evacuated by helicopter to a trauma center. And so our thoughts and prayers are with them right now. And it just simply reminds me of the fragility of life. And no one knows that more than you, the first responder. Nobody knows trauma and how life and death, the balance of life and death, is oftentimes just razor thin. And we see it and we respond to it. And we're expected to thrive in that environment. We're expected to thrive and work in an environment that involves and includes death, destruction, wickedness, and darkness. And sometimes if we do not take appropriate steps, that darkness can become us. We can allow it to overtake our lives. Well, we certainly don't want to allow that. So today we are going to talk about spiritual fitness. Now I can hear some of you right now saying, "Oh, Wimmer, spiritual fitness. I haven't thought about spiritual things or God or religion, and my life's better without it. I don't want to deal with that. Just tell me how to lose weight, gain muscle, lose fat, and get in shape. Teach me how to strengthen my heart, my cardiovascular system. Teach me some mental, some tips on how to improve my mental well-being, but leave the whole spiritual thing out of it." Well, I can't because honestly, I don't think you can either. I think that first responders ignore spiritual fitness at their own demise, at their own risk. It's something that we should not ignore. And so for the next 25 minutes or half hour, I am going to talk to you about the top 10 reasons you should focus on spiritual fitness. This is so important. And I don't care, I've worked for big police departments, small police departments. I've worked for police departments where there was just about every religion you could possibly imagine within that police department. There was no religion. There was those who did not believe. There were agnostics, there were atheists, there was Hindus and Buddhists and Sikhs and Christians and Jews, Muslims, every possible religious dogma you could imagine in the various police departments that I worked. And regardless of what your position is, now I have mine and I am dogmatic about it, but this is not the place or time or the podcast for my evangelistic dogma. Right now, what is important is making sure that our first responders do not ignore this critical part of your life. You see the logo of the First Responder Fitness. The First Responder Fitness logo is a triad. It's a triangle of sorts where we talk about physical fitness, mental fitness, and spiritual fitness. All three absolutely critical for you as a police officer, critical for you as a firefighter, because you cannot deal with the things that you deal with day in and day out and not have it affect you mentally and spiritually, even if you don't want to admit it. We need to exercise our spiritual mindfulness. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean for us at First Responder Fitness? Well, for our purposes, we're going to define spiritual fitness as the practice of nurturing inner peace, purpose, and resilience through various spiritual, religious, or reflective practices. I am firmly on the side that those who exercise certain spiritual habits, exercise their spiritual muscles, have a longer, healthier, more prosperous career. So let's get into these top 10 benefits of spiritual fitness. First and foremost is enhanced resilience. Spiritual fitness can foster a greater sense of resilience, enabling first responders to bounce back from traumatic experiences more effectively. And this is so important to me. This was one that I would say that this is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this issue. I will never forget, if you are a retired police officer, or if you are a retired firefighter, or if you've had several years under your belt, you can probably recall a situation or two, or maybe three, that are the situations in your career. They're the ones that you're laying there at night, just relaxing, getting ready to go to sleep, and it pops into your head. And you live in that mess and in that trauma for a little while. You just hang out in that traumatic space. Well, I had a situation like that many years ago. Very violent, terrible situation that I don't wish on any first responder. And I had a couple days off after this particular situation, and I had a rough time sleeping, just like anybody else would. And I went to our police department gym. I went to the gym that is owned by the police department and fire department. And I'm exercising. I think it was probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I just could not get this situation resolved in my mind. And so I knew our department had a chaplaincy service. And so I looked up a couple of the chaplains, and I sent a text to one of the chaplains. And I said, I know you won't get this until you wake up in the morning. Don't worry about it, but please call me. I need to connect and talk to somebody. Within 30 seconds, my phone is ringing. And I'm telling you, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. My phone's ringing, and it's Chaplain Stan. And he says, hey, Carl, what's going on? And I said, look, this situation, he knew about it. And I'm like, it's eating me up. He says, where are you at? And I told him where I was. And he said, stay there. I'll be right down. Man, what? 2:30 in the morning? I'd say, hey, let's meet tomorrow for breakfast. But no, he drove down and met me at the gym and counseled with me, helped me. He prayed with me. And I will never forget the kindness that that man poured into me as a volunteer chaplain, pouring into my spiritual well-being, my spiritual fitness, and my mental well-being. From that moment on, I really began to emphasize spiritual fitness in my career. And it helped with an enhanced resilience throughout my career. So that's number one, enhanced resilience. Number two, improved stress management. It is a proven fact, whether you're a believer or not, engaging in spiritual practices such as meditation, prayer, or mindfulness can reduce stress levels. It can help responders, those in this career, maintain composure in high pressure situations. And think about it. Take two different officers. One wakes up and he's just, two different police officers, could be firefighters. I don't care. You pick your poison. But one of them wakes up and he's just grumpy, grouchy, crusty. He's retired on duty, doesn't want to go to work, gets sick of the boss breathing down his neck, gets sick of dealing with people, gets sick of everything. He shuffles out the door without even thinking about his mental fitness, his physical fitness, his spiritual fitness. He just heads off to work. Officer number two, who has been listening to first responder fitness for some time now, he wakes up, he goes out and does his his early morning walk, comes home, has his coffee, has a breakfast. As he's out on his early morning walk, he is filled with gratitude. Why? Because he intentionally focuses on being grateful. He may spend some time with God praying on his walk, thanking God for life, and just standing in awe of the beauty of a new day. Whether you're a believer or not, the miracle of life, it's miraculous. And you've been given a new day with new hopes, new dreams, new potential. Man, that is something to be grateful for. And this officer heads off to work, hopeful, spiritually grounded, and ready for the day. Which one of those two guys do you want backing you up in a life and death emergency situation? Which one of those guys do you want following you into the burning structure fire? Which one of those two guys do you want responding to back you up in a 1033 situation? And I know 10 code's a little different around the country. 1033, help me quick. Which one of those guys do you want backing you up? The crusty old bugger who don't care, or the grounded person who is sharp and ready and has less stress in their life? So improve stress management. Very important. Number three, increased empathy. Not much I can say about that, but a strong spiritual foundation oftentimes promotes compassion and empathy, not only with those people that we're serving, but with our fellow coworker, our fellow firefighter, our fellow police officer. It can enhance the interactions we have with victims to where we're not just aloof and uncaring, but we actually care about our community members. Not only does that help them, but it helps community support for you as a police officer. Firefighters, everybody loves you. Everybody loves to see you coming when you're arriving on scene. No one likes to see the cops arriving on scene. Officers, if you had increased empathy and a better interaction with the community, at times it might help. It might help. And spiritual fitness helps with increased empathy. Number four, stronger sense of purpose. Small is the man who has nothing bigger than himself. I'm sure I didn't just invent that, but I'm just thinking that if there's nothing bigger than yourself, if you are the most important, the biggest thing in your life, how small is your world? Having something bigger, a bigger purpose, helps you cope with this job. Spirituality can help responders connect in a deeper sense to their purpose and their work. Colonel Dave Grossman, a man who I cannot say enough good about him. He and I he wouldn't remember me, but we've emailed each other back and forth years ago. I've seen him speak at least twice. The man is just, he's a hero in my eyes. But he puts all the accolades on first responders. You, firefighters and police officers, the sheepdogs on the front lines. That's what he calls you. He calls you sheepdogs. Out there guarding the sheep, just working and helping and guarding these people. And this fact that we have this deeper calling on our life as police officers and firefighters, having strong spirituality can really help you understand that, help you understand this deeper purpose to your job. So that's number 4, stronger sense of purpose. Number 5, this is very similar to some of the others, but it gives you better coping mechanisms. Spiritual fitness can provide tools for processing difficult emotions and experiences. It is unquestionably known as a fact in the mental health field that those first responders who have a robust spiritual, physical fit life, a robust spirituality, have a reduced risk of burnout as well as a reduced risk of PTSD. It's just the facts. And I don't make them up. But the truth is that those who have a robust spirituality reduce the risk of PTSD and burnout. And I'm telling you, this job leads to burnout. Okay. I'll never forget when I was first hired as a police officer. I was a young 21-year-old guy, wet behind the ears. I mean, 21 years old, that's a child. And I was so excited. And people would say, hey, how's the job going? And I'd be like, man, I cannot believe I get paid to do this job. Maybe you've said the same thing at some point. I cannot believe they pay me to do this job. Yeah, it'll last about 3 years, maybe 4 years if you're lucky. About year 7, 8, 9, 10, you start really kind of getting into, you start understanding the job and you get really good at the job, but it's now just a job. Year 15, you're probably thinking to yourself, I cannot believe how crappy they pay me to do this job. I cannot believe how little they pay me. They could double it and it's not enough. Burnout happens in this job. And we want to make it to the end of our career. Remember that. That's the goal of first responder fitness. We want you to make it all the way to the end of your career and then have decades and decades of healthy, prosperous retirement. That's our goal. If I were to say, set up a mission statement for first responder fitness, it would be that. To help first responders prosper in their career and then prosper for decades with a healthy, wholesome retirement. Isn't that a great goal? That should be all of our goals. Well, if you want to help aid in that goal, you need to start exercising your spiritual muscles just like you exercise your physical muscles. Stronger muscles, both physically and spiritually. Number 6, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but community support. Spiritual practices often involve the community. You're going to church with your neighbors. You might be going to church or involved in service clubs like Rotary or the Lions Club. Those aren't necessarily religious organizations, but it absolutely gives you a sense of spiritual purpose. And you could be involved in your community that way. It fosters connections with peers that can provide emotional and psychological support. So it just fosters unity in your community when you worship together, when you spend time together in a common cause that is bigger than yourself. Enough of that. Number 7, holistic well-being. That's what first responder fitness is all about, is holistic well-being, physical, mental, spiritual. Emphasizing spiritual fitness contributes to your overall well-being, integrating mental, emotional, and physical health, which is vital to high-stress professions. And is there a more high-stress profession than law enforcement and firefighting? I can't think of one. And so we want that holistic well-being, and having well-rounded spiritual fitness will help us in that area. Number 8, clarity in decision making. A well-developed spiritual perspective can help responders make much clearer, more ethical decisions in the heat of the moment. This is so important. So important. We are called to make life and death decisions in seconds, in fractions of seconds. And if our mind is not clear to our purpose, we can really screw this up. At least 3, 4, 5, I don't know, half a dozen times in my career, I have seen officers use excessive force. I have seen officers arrive on duty intoxicated. I have seen officers make very poor decisions. And those poor decisions oftentimes happen in the heat of the moment. And not in every case, but in many cases, the officers who are making those poor decisions are making poor decisions in their private life as well. They're not focused or concentrating on their physical fitness. They're not concentrating on their mental fitness for sure. And they're neglecting their spiritual fitness. If you want to be clear in your decision making and you want a long career that is not going to be muddied and mucked up with unethical nonsense, you need to really consider focusing on spiritual, holistic health. I'm not joking. Think of the officers in your department throughout your career who have lost their jobs because of a violation of the law enforcement code of ethics. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess that most of them did not exercise robust spiritual health. If they did, they weren't taking it serious. I want you to take it serious. Number 9, reduced isolation. Spirituality can help combat feelings of isolation by connecting responders with shared beliefs and values, promoting a sense of belonging. This is, this is so important in our line of work because this job can be lonely. But having a common spirituality, having common, moralistic beliefs, ethical beliefs, beliefs in something bigger than yourself will help you when the chips are down. I oftentimes look back at my time as a SWAT team commander. And there, again, different religious perspectives on the SWAT team. In fact, I am not the same religion I was when I was SWAT team commander. That has changed. My spirituality, my belief system, my worldview has changed since those days. But as a whole, the majority of our SWAT guys had a unified belief in something bigger than ourselves. We had a unified belief that there was a creator, that there was a God, that there was a something out there that was morally good, and that we were doing the morally good thing by being police officers and standing on the front lines defending the innocent. And we needed that because every job in law enforcement is scary. But if you're on a SWAT team, if you've ever served on a SWAT team, you know what it's like to be lined up in the stick outside a door, waiting for the breach command. And you know with 100% certainty that the people on the other side of that door are armed with SKS rifles. And you know with certainty that you are seconds away from either shooting people or having them try to shoot you, or at least come really close to that type of situation, something that is so dangerous and deadly. And you cannot have any doubts about your team that's behind you and in front of you. You have to be unified physically, mentally, and spiritually. That doesn't mean y'all got to be the same religion or y'all got to worship at the same place or believe the same stuff. But you do need a unified spirituality that brings that team together. Because you may be called upon to die for your fellow officer. You may be called upon to lay your life down. Are you ready for that? You better be. You better be. I know that sounds crazy, but that is the calling we have. We've been called to that with this job. Unity and togetherness. So that's a little diversion, but number 9 was reduced isolation. And it's so you could just say team building, team unity. And number 10, perhaps the most important, enhanced work-life balance. You cannot let this job consume you. You cannot let it become your singular identity. Spiritual practices can encourage first responders to focus on personal growth and self-care, leading to healthier work-life balance. Think about this. Dr. Gil Martin, who wrote the book Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement, he's the one who talked about the fact that police officers, after they get out of the police academy, within X amount of years, stop going to church and they stop working out. And that self-isolation and the abuse of your physical body, not taking care of it, has disastrous results. You know, if you used to go to church and you don't go to church now, why? Maybe your spiritual beliefs have changed. But you know, the fact is, joining your family at church in worship is good for your spiritual fitness, but it's good for your mental fitness. It's good for your social life. It's good to have an enhanced work-life balance. It's good to go to church and be around good people, or at least people who are not trying to shoot you or stab you or run you over. Okay? It's good to see that there are normal people out there. If all you surround yourself with are police officers, firefighters, and those you are arresting or those you are working on, that narrows your world to a cold, dark, cynical, callous place. You need to really, really be deliberate in your work-life balance. Join the Rotary. Join the Lions Club. Join the Exchange Club. Go to church. Incorporating spiritual fitness into the lives of first responders can significantly bolster your ability to handle the demands of this profession. It can lead to better outcomes for you and the community you serve. And that's what we want. Is that not what we ultimately want? I can't encourage you more. Again, top 10 list. You can go back and listen to it. I'll list them off to you really quick. Again, enhanced resilience, improved stress management, increased empathy, stronger sense of purpose, better coping mechanisms, community support, holistic well-being, clarity in decision-making, reduced isolation, and enhanced work-life balance. Those are just 10. There are more than that. We need to foster a sense of gratitude and spiritual health in this industry, in the first responder community. Now, sometimes we are all that we have. Sometimes we are the only thing that is standing in the way of us and going crazy is our fellow officers, our fellow firefighters. Don't you want to be one who can actually lift those who are down, can give a helping hand to those who are hurting, those who are struggling, those who may be going through something that maybe you went through before? Having a sense of spiritual health will assist you in helping others around you. Now, I can't wait. We have episodes coming up where we're going to be interviewing some police chaplains. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss these episodes. Fascinating. Talking to these police chaplains, I'm telling you, sometimes I wonder if they need chaplains to minister to them, because they are pouring everything they can into you and I. If you have chaplaincy at your fire department or at your police department, I encourage you to get to know them. Become friends with them. Don't deny the ride-along requests. Get to know them. Include them in your life. They should be the people that you feel like you can turn to first. As a police officer, if you're in a deadly force situation, a chaplain would be the first or second phone call you should make. Having them with you by your side, going through those situations, priceless, priceless. And so many of them do it for nothing. I'm talking about priceless. They do it for nothing. They volunteer because they love you. They love the first responder community. They love firefighters. They love police officers. So reach out to them, get to know them, put them on your speed dial. I know speed dial is not even a thing. I just aged myself, but get it to where you know them, you have a relationship with them, so you can call on them when the time comes. I hope you learned something from this episode. I hope that you take it serious, even if you are an atheist, agnostic, someone who just doesn't really pay much attention to your spiritual health. I think it's important. It's very important. It is actually the keystone of my life now, my spiritual health, my relationship with God. And it helped me throughout my career, and it will help you with yours. So I wish you all a healthy, happy, successful week. And until next time, be good to yourself, be good to others, and as always, stay safe.